All right, hello. This is the sixth episode of the Gear Podcast. Today, I have my guest here, Kevin Cortez. How are you doing today, Kevin?
I'm doing great, man. Doing great. How you doing, Gabriel?
I'm doing great. I'm always super excited about these episodes. I love talking to people in general, hearing the stories out, and I'd love to hear yours in particular. To the people that don't know about kind of like how we kind of met and like where our history starts. Would you like to give him a little bit of that information?
Yeah. I remember it like it was yesterday, 10 years ago. I remember going out to the playground, and then it would be our group to play basketball, and then you guys would play basketball, and I remember us playing basketball. That's one of like the best highlights that I remember us. But yeah, we were friends since middle school, man. So 11 years now. So that's a time. That's some time.
Yeah, man. We were discussing a little bit before we started. It has been 11 years, man. It's crazy to think an entire decade has passed since our last like actual conversation, and that's crazy to me.
It's 100%, and it's crazy because like we I have that picture of you as like when you were 12.
Oh
Like
no.
that's the image in my head of Gabriel. Oh yeah, dude, like a lot of hair, like Gabriel. Not this adult who I'm speaking to right now, which is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. A lot has happened for those 10 years, I guess, for the both of us. Yeah, like I said, like for you though, it doesn't seem like much changed. Like you're still like super handsome and like like has that like cowboy like theme to you. It's just like you carry things on, man.
Dude, thank you so much. I focused on my fashion a lot more as I grew older. I noticed. I remember I heard it from someone that the first time you meet someone, first impressions take on a lot because essentially it's hard to break a first impression. So what happens is I figured, you know what, let's just dress at least presentable throughout the whole day, wake up to nightfall, and so far it's been helping me a lot. Crazy things have happened where like even at work I've been like had job offers and things like that just because of how I look or how I present myself. So I appreciate your the compliment. Thanks, man.
That's super cool because I also share like that similar opinion. Whenever I kind of I call it like suit up. Like I go to work and like I always have this kind of like routine of like getting ready, and it's like at the end of it, when I'm walking down to work, I really do feel like so much more like so much more ready to be like productive and like just like own the moment kind of thing. And it's all because like, you get ready, and I feel like it's like, kind of like suiting up for the day.
Yeah, I remember. I think I got that. I heard the same term in How I Met Your Mother, Barney, suit up, if you remember. Yeah, and
Yeah,
yeah, I remember. I tell my girlfriend now. I tell her, look good, feel good, do good. So
I
yeah.
love it. I love it.
Simple, and that's true. I think wearing a suit or because I also wear like I guess you could say dress shirt and tie to work. I'm a banker now, but I guess we'll get to it. And yeah, dude, the conversations that you have with people, how people approach you is a lot different. Um, the respect behind it too, which is really amazing. And it's funny because they don't even, I guess, even know you, right? They don't recognize you, but they just see how you're dressed up and they already have like that little respect, or they have that like, oh, he must be important, and so forth.
Yeah, that's true. First impressions very important. For that. So yeah, man. How about a little bit of the? Let's see. So going back to like middle school, like overall, like I think we talked a little bit about this, but like how was it like? How was your experience through that time period of yours, like that early childhood, like in that kind of setting?
Time. Oh man, so I honestly loved middle school a lot. I think when I think back, it's nothing but good things. And I felt like it's kind of crazy to say now, but it's amazing to see how much in those few years, like you're molded by the teachers and like parents and things like that for the future. Because I remember, I think now Mrs. Fennell, right? No,
Right.
yeah, the name changed after the marriage, but I've gone back during my college time and I've said hi to everyone. It's nice to see everyone, but they kind of molded me to push us towards college. And I kid you not, thanks to them, I ended up getting like a bachelor's in English at Cal State Long Beach. But if it wasn't for them, remember those trips to San Diego and things like that? They really like, USC, UCLA. We visited a lot of schools. I thought we were kind of spoiled too, because they even took us to Disneyland. If you don't remember that, like that was a
Yeah.
good time.
It
Yeah,
was.
and I feel like that really just molded me to who I want to be in the future, which was kind of crazy because when you're there at the moment, you don't think twice about it. You're just having fun. You're a kid. But growing up, you look back, you're like, dang, I really appreciate that. And I told him when I visited, I was like, if it wasn't for you guys, like my future would have been a lot different. So thank you for them.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. Yeah, like when I look back to that same middle school period, like like I have the similar sentiments. Like I think it's a very special time. I think it's like especially for our class, like with such a small class with everybody kind of knowing each other and the teachers also getting to know us a little bit more and having that more intimate relationship a little bit because of such a smaller class helped me and helped just the overall experience of middle school.
Yeah, and I'll add to that, man. Like, I feel like it was so tight niched. As much as we did have our little groups, overall, like at lunch, realistically speaking, you can sit anywhere, and anyone would just be like, "Hey, what's up?" Like, I have you for 3 classes. I have you for so forth. And I feel like in another middle school where you get a new teacher, because for us, English and math or 2 classes, or the PE teacher was the math teacher. So, if you remember that, like it was always like that. So I feel like you're right. The teacher definitely had a bond with us. And I remember same Mrs. Fanau saying our 8th grade when we were signing yearbooks, she's like, your class is special because we can talk to you like adults and we respect you like adults, and vice versa. She's like, we can have like academic conversation, but we can also get off topic and talk about what we like to talk about. And it was really cool to gain that respect from, our teachers and our people who we see and are like, oh, admire, like, oh man, that's really cool. So it's nice. Yeah.
Definitely, man, definitely. Yeah, that yeah, the time, I think a lot of things align with that, but also just like you said, like the quality of the teachers, like that we were kind of like so lucky to kind of like have, like they were truly like passionate about like their work and us, and making sure that we, despite like not you know despite not having like foundations for like a middle school, like they built it themselves. So yeah, that's just, I'm super
Yeah.
grateful for that.
Yeah. And you're spot on, man. Like the amount of work. I remember again looking back at it now, at one point one thinks like, oh, after school tutoring, they're paid, and they're actually not paid. That was their own time, their own effort to like look back and give us like everything. And even all those games that we see. I remember, if you remember the penny war.
Yeah.
So things like that, like they really, like when we had an idea, they tried everything to make it fun and to make it happen. So the penny war, just for everyone, um, we would save pennies. So in your classroom, I'm not sure it's during a certain period. Oh, I think it's your homeroom classroom. You
Mm-hmm.
would save up pennies, and the pennies are yours, but someone can come bomb you. So if neighbor would come to my classroom and drop off a nickel, we would have to subtract 5 cents from whatever the pennies are, and so forth.
Yeah.
So we ended up saving so much money. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. I remember, like, when we had that, I thought it was such a cool idea. Like, uh, I love the rivalry between like the different classes. It was just, I mean, as a kid, like you just have that like competitive, like spirit of like, I just want to be better than them. It's just like,
Yeah.
this was like in a fun way. Like trying to channel
Yeah.
all that like kind of energy in a way like that. So that was really cool. I do remember there was a couple kind of drama with that penny war that
Yes.
came with it.
I was in the middle of it actually. I got caught in the middle. It was crazy. Did you hear
Really?
about that?
I don't remember your name in there. How
No.
did that come about?
Okay, so actually, Miss Collins had called me out when I was going to lunch. She was like, "Oh, when you're done eating, come see me," and so forth. I was like, "Okay," and I was just like happy because I'm like, Miss Collins wants to see me, cool. And then like I went, and she's like, "Hey, a few students said that they saw you like take the money out because we used to do like dollar bills," and I had the same reaction. I was like, it can't be me. Like it wasn't me. I was like, there's no way, because there was drama there. There was drama there, and then I was like, wow, I don't know. I feel kind of shook, and I don't even know if they even like ended up the person like saying it or something, because it became like a little fire right there.
How did that resolve? Like, did you just kind of just deny it, and was it okay after that?
Right? No, I was telling the truth. I told him I was like, hey, like I don't know who did it. I didn't do it, and I told them I was like, they said it was two people, and I was like, I don't know how they saw that because that wasn't me. And I told them where I was at. I was like, I was here at this time, and then they escalated the situation because I think it like a week passed now, and they were like, okay, if the person doesn't come out and say it, like the end of the year thing is gonna, and everyone was like worried. They're like, who did it? Who did it? Like who did it? Like now it was like, like let's catch this guy, this person, to whoever stole. I think it was like $20 or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was like the $20 bills that they were that were taken.
Yeah. And I was like,
Yeah, it was crazy. Do you remember what happened? Because what happened at the end, I forget. Like, I think they did cancel the thing? Was it
that
that?
year, right?
I think so. I think that's what they did ultimately.
Yeah.
Um,
Because we had gone to Disneyland. Was it our seventh grade year?
yeah, I do remember seventh grade. It felt like something was missing from that year.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy because it's funny because my memory of that event was that during that same like I think that same lunch around the same time for some reason um that it was like I had gone up to the second floor on that same like around that same day I think.
Mm,
And I think I had gone up there because like I forget what like why I needed to go up there. Like I think I needed to get like a textbook or like it was something, but me and a couple I think it was me and the couple guys were up there and we were walking through and we just didn't know like anything was happening. Like, we just
mm,
walked through and like, we went down and we went to play ball. I'm pretty sure that like that's what happened. But I think like a
yeah.
couple days later they were like, "Oh, on this day, like all this stuff like, all this stuff was taken during lunch." And I was like, "Wait, what?" Like I was like pretty sure I was like I walked through there. I was like, "Oh, it's crazy, man. It's
That's
crazy."
yeah, that is insane. And you're right. I don't even know if we ended up catching them or if someone had said it, even though they didn't do it. Because that was what one person was gonna do. I remember one of my friends. I forgot who. They were like, you know what? I'm just gonna say I took it, and I'll
Um
get the money back, and even like take one for the team, right? And I was
yeah.
like, I want to say no, but I want to go to Disneyland.
Holy.
Like that sounds like the right thing to do for you, and I'll reap the benefits. But I just stayed quiet. I was like, you know what, to each their own.
Yeah. Damn, I would hate to. Yeah, that sucks to be in a position like that. I could definitely see like a person that like I don't know just cares about everybody like a lot, like
Mhm.
really like taking a fall like that. It'd just be like, ah man, that to
Yeah,
hear about that afterwards would be like, wow.
exactly.
Yeah,
Like bite the bullet.
yeah, sucks,
Ouch.
man.
Yeah.
So that's middle school. What about afterwards? I'd love to hear like what you were able to do. Maybe a little bit on high school. Like, how was that for you?
It was magical. Honestly, it seems like life keeps getting better for me.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's not a. I think it's not a brag term. It's more of like how I've learned to look at life through a perspective or through a lens. I'm not rich or anything. I'm not like hit a lottery and that's made me happy. No, it's more of like I was really happy in elementary. I was really happy in middle school, and it continued on to high school. And how it continued, it looked in the way of like I ended up getting into randomly. I got into theater. Like
Oh,
so I was in like three plays, My Fair Lady, Music Man, and then what was the third one? How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying. It's a really lengthy. Yeah,
okay.
and they're all really cool. And also, I picked up tennis
Oh.
randomly too. Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. Like the first day of high school, my list, I told my friend, I was like, dude, I don't have PE. I bought PE clothes. I don't have PE. It says tennis. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, maybe they're playing tennis in PE. I was like, I don't know. I'll just show up. So and then I show up. It turns out like I signed myself up to the tennis team, and I didn't know nothing. I didn't know nothing. All these people had like personal trainers, and I'm like,
Wow.
okay, I'm gonna pick up the racket. I'm just gonna swing at it, man. And then I kid you not, by my second year, was it my second year? No, my third year, I ended up making varsity. My junior year, I made varsity.
Wow.
So that's from nothing to varsity tennis, and all while doing like musicals, which was great. And then on top of that, I was in chorus. I had the privilege to sing at the Long Beach Performing Arts Center
Wow.
for, yeah, we sang opera music. It was amazing in front of like Long Beach students too. So that was a real blessing. So I had that going on in high school, and then what else did I do? This is just now I'm bragging. I ended up
No,
winning
no, this
Mr.
is. I'd
Rap.
love to hear this. This is like super cool.
Yeah, I ended up winning Mr. Ram from Milliken, and from Milliken, in case of the people who don't know the high school, it's I guess you can say for girls, what's it called, homecoming queen.
Right.
So for guys, it was like Mr. Ram, which was during the springtime, and it's just a show off. Like you're just out there shirtless, singing, singing, dancing. That's what it was. That's exactly what it was. Like go ahead on YouTube, Mr. Ram, and you'll see a bunch of like shirtless guys. And I'll be there. I'll be there somewhere. And it was crazy because I was intimidated, man. Again, at the moment in high school, this was my senior year now. You were looking at a 5'9" Kevin going against a 6'2" model, six pack and everything. And I was like, dude, I was intimidated, but I ended up winning by God's good graces. And yeah, that was a great experience. That was a great experience.
I love it. Wow. Interesting. So you talked a little bit about how you got into tennis. What about the theater? You said that was kind of random too. Like, how did that come about?
Yeah, okay, so that's a great question. I signed up for like the general electives. One of them was like intro to drama or something,
Mm-hmm.
and then they presented like, oh, join the play, and I was like, you know what, like, no, it's not for me. Like, I like to sing, but I didn't know if I like to dance. So when I joined chorus the next year, I noticed a lot of people who did chorus also did play. So
Mm.
then I was like, oh, I guess I'll just show up. And I ended up getting one line that year for My Fair Lady. I was the guy who like who was it, controls the horses, right, for the chariot for the person,
All
and I
right.
had one line, and it's so funny. No one remembers, but I do. My mic, I forgot to turn my mic on, so
Oh.
for my one line, it was just like quiet. And I was like, you know what, screw it, like it is what it is. So yeah, I ended up loving drama. It's just one thing though, I learned to appreciate the arts a lot more. Oh my gosh, like hours on hours on hours, and I learned to appreciate directors a lot more because I knew nothing about that. You know, I just thought actors. I thought acting was easy. Like you just go, you show up, give a few lines, and no, there's just so much work that goes into it. I have a new respect for it. Even people who sing and dance, like people who do musicals and stuff like that. And now I feel like that was a humbling moment learning because I felt like at every stage, tennis, chorus, and drama, whatever I did, I knew I wasn't the best. But it's not that I compared myself to everyone. It's just I could recognize talent when people had talent. Does it make sense? So I knew I was like, wow, that person, like, they're gifted at that point in life. So then I thought to myself, okay, well, let's see where life gets me. And I ended up picking the guitar from middle school. I don't know if you remember from middle school, it transferred over to high school. And at the very end, I picked it up, and it's helped me a lot. I ended up winning like a few awards, like a U.S. History Award for writing a song. I ended up winning a philosophy award for writing a song as well, and songs that I still have. And it's kind of crazy because everyone was like, "Oh, you should pursue that, like the music career." And at one point, I did consider it 50-50, but then I thought to myself, I was like, you know what? One thing that doesn't change about me is I like money. So I was like, I'm gonna go with something that has a check and it has a lot of zeros.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
man, that's such a cool story. The thing that really struck me that super interesting there is the part where you're just conscious and aware about like how you might not be like the best in that particular like field, but like you'll still do it anyways, like to kind of like see like where it's gonna take you.
Yeah.
And that kind of like, I don't know, that takes a lot. Like I know it like firsthand experience. Like when you see like all these things that people are good at, and like but you're interested in it, but you're just like you're scared to like flop, you're scared to like to fail in that. you know that kind of mentality really holds you back from potential, because it's not that these people like just came up to be like these like great figures in their field. Like they started from
Right.
somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's just like that, their genuine interest into the field like kind of probably drove them to like learn about it, to persist through all the struggle that they probably had to go through.
Yeah. I like how one of the rappers I listen to, his name is NF, and he says it like it's like a rapper that you think is barely coming up. It's in his song. The lyrics are a rapper that you think is that you think that you believe or think is barely coming up. They've been rapping for 10 to 15 years, and they're just getting noticed. So it's the same concept of that. Like, someone you look at and you're like, wow, they're really talented. Realistically, they started singing at like 6 years old, or they were playing tennis at 10 years old. Something that I didn't get the privilege to do, but because tennis was fun. It was a lot of fun. I had a great time. It was a lot of technique, and you're right. There's definitely was a fear though, because I did realize that a lot. Oh, I'm not the best, and of course, the mind plays tricks, and you're like, do you want to continue even though you know you're not going to be the best? And I was like, you know what? For the sake of like making friends and making memories, yeah. Because with chorus, I traveled to San Diego. We ended up getting gold for like the chorus thing. I ended up making it for vocal ensemble. Vocal ensemble in other schools, it's called chamber chorus. You have to try out for that because they get only the best. They can't get everyone. So, and that was my second year singing. So again, I was going against talented singers. People who have been singing as little kids. With Kevin, who doesn't have a natural voice, had to learn how to sing, had to try really hard at it, and then I got into that. So that was just a blessing too. But honestly, I feel like I've learned so much. I feel like after that, because you said it right, the fear of flop was definitely there, and I flopped, Gabriel, so many times, man. I was a pancake. I was a pancake. Yeah, yeah,
No, but I mean that's great. I mean that when you look at the story, I mean those flops like are just part of the process. I mean, look at where it took you. Like, when you talk about those flops, like, I mean, those are like badges almost. Like it, because it's just like, you the flop happened, and that's just like how life is. But like the thing that's incredible is like you kept going. For like whatever reason, like you might have had, like you kept going because you thought that there might be something there still, and that's such a cool trait in like just life in general, because it'll take you to places that you never would have dreamed of, like now and like even like in the future.
no, you're right, 100%. And like I said, like the privilege of like singing, excuse me, in front of like thousands of people. That's one moment I'm just like, wow. I thought I would never relive. I ended up reliving it years later in college because I got invited to sing a song in Italian with my organization, my church group.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like, hey, there's this solo, but we need to throw language. And I was like, I speak Italian. And I was like, they're like, are you serious? I was like, piccolo, like a little bit. And then I was like, but it was enough to get me the gig, right? And that was another amazing moment. I kid you not. Like at least 2,000 plus people, like a stadium full. That was actually the Long Beach Convention Center now. So yeah, so I sing at the Long Beach Performing Arts Center, and then I sing at the Long Beach Convention Center, and that like honestly, if anyone can like feel that or witness that, it's amazing. It's amazing because everyone's singing along, everyone's listening to you, and it's really overwhelming. But you feel so like proud of yourself, you know, because you're right. The flaps or the badges, it is worth it when you get to those spots. So, well said. Mm.
Yeah, man. Like, okay, so like the question that I haven't asked yet is that you know, you said you like singing. Like, I didn't know that. Like, where a little bit on the backstory on that maybe.
Yeah, no, 100%. So growing up, my mom was actually, I say professional singer in the aspect of like, not like recording CDs or anything, but like she was definitely known through her church organization. So my mom would also be like singing in front of thousands. Um, Unfortunately, the genes didn't pass on to me. So what happens was, it's crazy. So like my siblings, my oldest brother had like a natural singing voice. My other older brother, Edwin, also had a natural singing voice. It skipped me, and then it jumped to my little sister Ashley. And I kid you not, they could talk, and it sounds like a bird, like beautiful, like amazing lyrics and sounds. And I'm like, wow, like I wish I had that. So yeah, so that's why like I was always kind of turned off to music, and then because I feel like, oh, I had to try like, yeah, I guess you can say that was the fear. That was the fear of like I'm surrounded by people who naturally have it, my own family, and I feel like I'm the outsider. But truth be told, once I like started going hard at it, it became like I at one point I would say I became like the best one because I was so well trained by how much effort I was putting in. I was invited to those certain places. So that's where my love for music got a lot deeper and a lot better. And before I even went to the convention center, it was like countless like I used to like lead worship, so it was countless like worship services and things like that about my faith. And I kid you not, I have clear memories, and I can show you like my cousins. They can tell you my voice has cracked live in front of hundreds of people many times. It's embarrassing, like for any singer, but I just keep going. I just kept going, and the love for singing now it looks a little different. Now it's in the aspect of like certain times, you know, I bring it out here and there, but I'll never come out as like, oh yeah, I sing. Oh no, no, I'll just be like,
Okay, interesting. How did you work on that voice? Like, what kind of like, what did that look like?
yeah. So it looked a little like this. I kid you not. So every morning on the way to school, remember the vocal ensemble class was a little smaller. The thing with that is we met at 7 a.m. So I was up by 6, and you're waking up like as a high schooler, you're waking up and you're like, okay, time to go to school. And the first thing you have to do is belt out. Like you're singing like high notes at 7 a.m., no matter what. So I was not prepared. I didn't have a hot tea with the scarf on. Like, no, no, no. In the car, I remember I looked up YouTube videos, and it's going to look funny, but one of the videos was like to smile as big as you can. So in the car for 30 minutes, I'd be like, just like, and people would stare at me, and I'm like, I'm stretching out my muscles. And then people make fun of me for this one. There's a exercise I like to sing. It's called Mayo. So okay, so Mayo 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 Mayo, and you just keep going up the scale until like you hit and then the Mickey Mouse one was Good morning, boys and girls, and then you keep going up. So Good morning, boys and girls, and then you keep doing that your own range, like an instrument, you're tuning it. So my high notes got higher and my low notes got lower, because realistically, I'm actually a baritone. And if you know, it's bass, baritone, and then tenor. So for singing, I was actually marked as a baritone, but they would always put me to sing as tenor because I can hit the notes and I can hold the notes. So, and that took, I think, a lot of practice. But those were the warm ups that I would do every morning. And, that got me there.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, it takes a lot of dedication. Then it seems like to keep on that. What what kind of like pushed you like so like you were telling me like a long time like you were kind of turned off on the idea of music.
Yeah.
Um, like when did it start to shift like from like that to like practicing like every morning at 7 a.m.?
Yeah, great question. I think I took it a lot more serious when I wanted to play guitar for my church, and then I noticed that they had like a singing position available for a guy. And then I kid you not, like I didn't know this until years later. The gentleman who actually got me to sing, like on stage, my mic was very low on purpose. So I would sing, but my mic was very low. And then years later, I found out that he put me up there not because I knew how to sing, but because of like I had a spirit that I wanted to sing. Like I just wanted to be up there and like sing my heart out. So I started from church. Then after that, I was like, oh, I can get better at school. I'll sign up for chorus. Signed up for chorus, and then afterwards, I tried out for the thing. And the tryout for the vocal ensemble, it wasn't even my idea. It was my one of my friends. She was older than me. Her name's Miranda. So Miranda, if you're out there, shout out. And then Miranda told me, she's like, just try out. Like you have nothing to lose. And in my head, I was scared. I was like, no, like you guys, like this is what you guys do. Like this is your talent. This is when people are like, oh, this is my daughter or my son, and they say they would know how to sing. Like that's what goes behind it. Like for me, it's just Kevin. Like this is my son Kevin, not that he knows how to sing. So then I tried out for vocal ensemble, and once I got in, that's when it like the switch, like the what's it called, the switch flipped. That's when it was like, whoa, okay, if they believe in me, then I should believe in myself. And then that's when I took it more serious, and that's when I started doing all those morning exercises and stuff.
Okay. That's cool, man. That's that's cool. Like that other people, that saw something in you, and that kind of like catapulted like your kind of like drive and motivation to kind of improve on that field. That's super cool, man. I'm happy for you.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah,
It seems like it's brought you a lot of joy. So
it has. Thanks, and it's one of the privileges. Again, I think it comes for seeing that. I think everyone should understand is you get to travel a lot. Like you really get to travel a lot. I've traveled like a lot of places in California that I wouldn't think I was be able to, just because seeing whether with church or with school, I ended up singing uh, carols. I remember in college, I kid you not, just for fun, I signed up to chorus again, and we ended up singing like carols, and I sang to like different like groups of like elder folks and so forth, and like the smiles that you bring to their faces, like you're dressed up with like a pilgrim, and you're singing carols, and they're just like yeah, and they love it, So that experience, I would say, is just as wholesome as the experience I had at the convention center, because the joy that you bring to everyone, the peace and the love, that they're just like wow. Because I would say music is one of those like universal languages. Whether it's piano, it's not even singing. Whether it's piano or anything that's music, I feel like it's easy to connect with someone. So
Yeah,
it's
man.
nice.
Yeah, I agree with the music. It's like you said, like music. I mean, like you said, you were performing in front of like these elderly folks, but you know I'm sure that if you performed like with any other population, that they would get to enjoy like your craft. And there's not a lot of things that can do that sometimes. Like if you were to have like a crowd of people, and if I were to say like there are people here that are like all the way from like you know super young kids to like super old folks, but they can like find something that they can enjoy in that activity, like in music. Like they can find something in there. There's not a lot of things that have that kind of attribute to the activity. So music's really cool, man.
Yeah, and you're right. It's definitely that unison of like, no matter what background, what language you speak, or anything, it's just either you appreciate the lyrics or the sound, or just how it makes you feel. You know, I ended up actually forgot. I ended up singing a lot of like, what's it called, the coffee shop thing. Like the open mics.
Right.
Yeah, so I ended up doing a lot of open mics in high school, and I met so many people through that. It's funny because when you're singing and you meet them, it kind of feels like a movie where like everyone's going through their journey, and everyone's trying to share their music. Some people are trying to make it, and then some people are just there to share. And then I've gotten like so many compliments from that, and I felt like that also helped me keep going because it's different singing it as a group than singing solo. Because solo, I would feel like now what you say or what you do, it represents you. Kind of like when we think of an artist, whether it's like Taylor Swift or like Switchfoot, my favorite artist, like they are known or identified by their music. So, but it's their craft, I guess, So, makes sense.
All right, man. So we talked a little bit about high school and the many accomplishments it seems like you had, and also the journey that you were able to share a little bit on the journey that you had through that time. What about you? You mentioned a little bit on your college. Where did you go? You mentioned, was it something in English? Was it?
Yeah, so I majored. I got a bachelor's in English rhetoric and composition. That would be the title.
Okay, and where did you go for that degree?
Yeah, so I started actually. I wanted to be a nurse at Long Beach Community College, so LBCC.
Mm-hmm.
And then after the first year, I was like, I don't want to be a nurse no more. I was like, I learned my lesson. That was it. It took like a few trips to the ER with my grandma. She was getting sick, and then I learned. I was like, okay, not everyone treats a nurse how I thought they would be treated. People are a little rough around the edges. That's just the world, though. And then after that, I was like, okay, let's not pursue that no more. So then I ended up getting a English degree because I spoke to a judge who used to go to my church, and I asked him, I was like, hey, I want to be a lawyer. What do you think I should do? And he's like, major in philosophy, English, or I don't know, something that makes you write a lot, pretty much. And he's like, what happens is a lot of people go to law school and they take poli-sci and other degrees, and that's really good. It's really helpful, but they don't grasp the idea that law school is a lot of writing. So maybe they can really put off a good paragraph or 5 pages, but law school you're looking at 15 to 20 pages on the regular. So it's like I saw that as an idea because at that time I was like, okay, all right, I would definitely want to be a lawyer, so let's go ahead and push that. And yeah, I ended up getting my English degree, and it's been amazing. I feel like, especially for rhetoric and composition, for those of you who don't know what rhetoric is. I like how one definition puts it. It's called the art of persuasion. So your rhetoric is how you persuade someone to believe or not believe or think or not think on an idea that you have. So there's definitely some good books out there, but yeah, so I got a degree in that.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. And then, so what? So you had the idea of becoming a lawyer, but then you said you became a banker.
Right, right.
Tell me a little bit more on that.
That transition, right? Okay. So as I'm now 100%, I still want to get my law degree, but now it's not in the way that I want to, and I'll share from that. So starting, so when I was in college, I was like, okay, I wanted to get a law degree and I wanted to do, what was it? Patent laws and so forth. I figured out too late though, to do patent laws, you actually need a hard science degree. So by that time, I was about like on my last year for English, and I was like, I am no way about to restart college, like another 2 years just for like to do that. So instead, I was like, okay, let's go to entertainment law, and then entertainment law is a lot of like self-contract work, like actors and so forth. And then I was like, to figure out who's gonna be the next Tom Holland is a little difficult. So then I was like, okay, what's the next one? Corporate law, and I was like, makes a lot of money. It's 9 to 5. Let's go with corporate law. Let's go with corporate law. I'll be a businessman. Essentially, that's what it will look like. And yeah, and even now, like 100%, like I do want to continue to push to law school, but yeah, it looks a lot different because even now I want to look at it through a business perspective, meaning I recently got like my notary license. I'm currently getting my real estate license, and then I'm pushing to get my law degree. And it's all for the purpose of self-educating myself and just preparing myself. Because typically we're like, oh, it'd be nice to know a lawyer, to have a lawyer. Imagine if you're a lawyer and so forth. How I got into banking, though, your question. right out of college, I wanted to make more money than what I did. I was a barista. I was a good barista. I was a happy barista. I had my little hats. Like I was everything you wanted in like a coffee shop. I had like my hats, and I'd be like, "Hey, how you doing? Like, let me make your drink." And I'd be like, "I'll talk to you. I'll make your drink." And I'd be like, "Have a great day." And you'd be like smiling. You'd give me like $1, you know. And then like that, yeah, like that's what it was. That's what it was, and I loved it. I loved it, and so. But the thing with being a barista is you don't make too much money. So, once I graduated, I was like, okay, I need a new car, so I'm gonna go for a full-time job. I applied to a lot of like office jobs. I applied to bank jobs, and then I also applied to a bunch of like law firms and stuff, like assistant. And then a bank called me up. I ended up driving from Long Beach all the way to Malibu.
Wow.
Uh, yeah, and I kid you not, it sounds like a joke. Just to be a bank teller, so not even like a man, like a banker, just a bank teller, just to start. They paid me well because of my drive, and they asked me like, "Do you mind the drive?" And I was like, "No." And honestly, I didn't because that's when I started listening to Jordan Peterson, and I had all
Mm.
that time because it was an hour and a half commute. That's when I would knock out like the Bible series, or I would knock out a lot of podcasts, and I would just be like self building myself. I would use that time not just to, you know, just drive and empty mind. No, I feel like I was building myself mentally to get me where I'm at now. So I was at Wells Fargo for a few months, and then my few months, I kid you not, I applied to a job. And now that you brought it up, you're right. I just keep reaching for the stars. I applied to a job that I wasn't, I guess, qualified for. You can say, because it's called a now, which I am now, a retail banking specialist. It's just a fancy word to say I work with old people who have a lot of money. Yeah, and so the money is typically retirement accounts. So that's where I work now, and that's where it went. So still want to be a lawyer, but I pushed to banking because I needed more money a little quicker to get my vehicle, and I ended up getting a nice car. So nice.
Congratulations to you, man. Like, that's super cool. Like you, you have. It's like really like, that's really fascinating. Like from what I'm hearing, like you have like, what you want, and then it's just like you make it work.
Yeah.
It's just like, and you get it to work. And yeah, it's just like I'm just fascinated by this. Like your ability to just like kind of really just like hone in on that part of you that you just know that you want and just get it and be persistent about it and it's working out for you. It's working out for you, man.
Yeah. No, and it really is. It really is. It's a lot of hard work. I feel like it's a lot of mental power. And I would say if you were to talk to me a year from now or like 2 years from now, I would be different so much every year. So I feel like even if you talk to me next year, I'll probably be like not so different, but like in the way that I'm thinking. I'd be in a different situation. I'd be in a different placement, but with the same ideas and the same, I guess you can say, like curious mind to move forward. Because I never thought that I would get my notary or real estate license or become a banker before I go to law school. It was never in my plan, but I thought, okay, that's a great long term idea and plan, and it's gonna work out. But I need to take steps to prepare me, and I feel like it has. With notary, I've worked through a lot of like law documents and so forth, a lot of contracts. With real estate, the money's there, but you definitely understand the seriousness of like purchasing big purchases because some of these homes are 350,000. Some of these homes are more than 1 million. So the seriousness is like, yeah, people walk and talk, but they talk differently, and they try to negotiate in very different ways, and it's kind of interesting to see how people view life and money that way because money is a big influence in people. Yeah.
That's true. I mean, that definitely, the it seems like the older I get, the more and more, money just becomes like it becomes something that you just can't ignore. It's like it's something that you can't deny its importance, and
Right.
also like how it just affects not only like you but also like your family and like your friends, but also like society in general. It's just like you you just appreciate just I guess money a little bit more. I feel like as I grew older. From hearing you and that whole, there's a lot actually like follow up questions that I have like from that what you said
I'm
when you're
ready.
saying when you said an hour and 30-minute drive, like what you said a full time job, like what did your schedule look like? Was it like super early in the morning that you're driving there?
Yeah, so I kid you not, man. Like for the first 2 or 3 months, I would wake up at 5, and I would work at the earliest I would work was 8:30. So I'm up 3 hours before work. I would get to the Starbucks because if you leave at 5:45, it's only a 1 hour drive and not a 1 hour and a half. So just to save 30 minutes of my day, I would drive that, and then I would go. And I remember I was reading this book. I actually forgot about this book, but I remember what was it? The Remarkable Story of Risk, and it's an interesting book because that actually got me into finances and more money because it talks about risk and where it started. So the earliest form of risk was gambling. So people would gamble like dice, roll dice, and then
Mm.
that was their risk. Now we take risks by taking the car to work. Like you have to pay for insurance because there is a risk you're gonna be in an accident. Now we take a risk by putting money in our Robinhood accounts, like trying to buy stock or so forth. And that really opened my eyes to a lot of different risks. And I was like, what risk should I be taking and what should I not be taking? But does my schedule look like 5 a.m.? I would get there at 6:30 for an hour and a half, 2 hours. I'd be reading my book, or honestly, I'd be like with my music on. I'd be like meditating, praying, and then go to work. And I'd be exhausted. I'd have like 2 cups of coffee, and then I'd work the whole day. And then after work, I'd get off like at 5 or like 4, the earliest. Make my way to the gym in Santa Monica because I didn't want to sit in traffic. So I figured 30-minute drive to Santa Monica. If I can't work out for an hour and a half, 2 hours, it's a 20-minute drive home. So it's not too shabby. Again, 1 hour drive, 1 hour drive, because I wanted to maximize, or I guess lessen how much I would spend in the car. Yeah, and that's what I would do. So I was getting, I guess, buff up here, but I was actually getting buff in my physique as well. And with COVID, it's hard not to work out and so forth. But I'm happy with like where I'm at because I feel like my body's ready to just go back, go back. Yeah.
Okay, that's good, man. Yeah, that's yeah, that seems extremely efficient. I mean, that efficiency like strikes to me like um that I see that's important to you, how you spend your time, and also just you know awareness about like what you can do, like that whole like training your mind thing. you know
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's really good, man. That's really good to
Yeah.
hear. The other thing that I had was I know we mentioned it before we started talking on the podcast, but Jordan Peterson, that's
Yeah.
something we have in common, that we listen to, and my admiration for him, and I think we share on that topic. Um,
Yeah, 100%. I remember we were talking earlier, and we said I loved him so much in the terms of like mentorship because at one point during that time actually where I kind of seemed like lost of because everyone was questioning me on the drive. Are you sure you want to work that far, Kevin? Like, and I was coming out of college, so I was like 23, and I was like, yeah, I think this is gonna be helpful for me. And he ended up being helpful because again, Malibu, it's the kind of people that you work with, right? The quality, meaning I'm sorry, not quality, but the amounts of money that they have. And I was talking about how important money is. It's like, well, that's where it's at in Malibu, and then where it got me now. But Jordan Peterson definitely helped me understand that I can take control of my life up until certain parts, and I took full advantage. I took full advantage. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, like I think it was for me too, like when when I was feeling lost a little bit, on my own, like kind of I guess journey, trying to figure out like what I want to do like career wise, and
Right.
and all that stuff. Like, he definitely helped me kind of like sort out, the important stuff a little bit more, and just help me kind of, yeah, kind of get like a ground, like kind of like a little bit of foundation, so that to understand that the world, like, is tough, and but like, you can still make it better no matter like how small. And
Right.
like, that's the thing, like, you just got to start small. Like, that's just
Yeah.
the biggest thing. It's just like some people just like, they just have like a warped perception of like what they have to do to like change the world, or like
Right.
for like for the better or for themselves. But it all starts with just like, you know with these small moments of like courage to be able to do, um you know to do, most of the time, to do a lot of things that you're scared to do.
Right.
I
Right.
think that, in like, one of the things he kind of says is just like, you got to face your fears.
Yeah.
That it's just like, the reason why they're there is like, there's something to like there's something to gain. Like, that's the direction you should, sometimes like explore, because like there's something to be found on the other side.
Yeah, and to continue off that idea, it's I remember very very carefully when he presented this concept to me. He said, one foot on foundation on what you know, your routine, your 9 to 5, your job, your morning routine, your night routine, your gym, whatever it is, and then the other foot in mystery, in the unknown. And he's like, you need that balance because if you have both feet on, uh, on a routine, you're gonna get bored. If you have both feet on a mystery and trying to figure out new stuff, you're gonna get overwhelmed because that's a big world and there's a lot to learn, and you're just gonna be scared of everything because everything's gonna come at you. But having one in one is definitely like a nice balance. So yeah, he's really great.
I love that concept. I
Yeah,
think I immediately made a connection to, I think to my own like life. Like, I mean, like, just a real quick connection is that, for like the last year, I've like kind of had the same job, like kind of working in the kitchen, like in a hospital, like in an office setting.
yeah,
Like, I think that like that is definitely like a routine, like a lot. It's very, sometimes repetitive work. Like same schedule like every week. And for a
mm,
long time, I really do think I had both feet in that routine.
right,
And
right,
I would notice that it's just like, coming from like an academic background, like always like school being a priority, but right out of college, and just having work, the only thing on like responsibility wise, like work, you know
right.
it, it definitely seemed like draining in a way. It's just like not having that food for thought, like having that mystery that you were talking about. Like I need that mystery. Like, I need like to be in a place where it's like, mentally stimulating, so that it just, I don't know, otherwise it does feel like, your brain is just like slowly like dying inside, because it just doesn't have that food.
Yeah, and pushing forward, like you said, the stimulation of what we need to learn, because we are like learning creatures. We like to discover new things. If people think otherwise, like, why do you think hiking is such a big thing right now? You think people like to hike because it's the same thing? No, if it's the same thing, we would make circles around parking lots, like But that's not the case. People like to hike because it's a new trail. You'll see a new bird, you'll see a new thing, and so forth. I was actually going to push to another concept or idea that Jordan Peterson also taught me. Let me see if I can remember quickly. It was let me see, so forth. What was the concept? Now I'm going brain dead.
It's all right. Maybe it'll come back. I'm sure sometime, maybe. The other thing that I was wondering, I guess the real estate license. Like, how did real estate kind of like pop into the picture there?
And I think the influence was direct but indirect. For example, my dad's actually a real estate agent,
Okay.
and he's doing it for like all my life, so 25 plus years, more than I've been born. Actually, I've been alive. And and so, like, in a way, I saw him do real estate but I was never intrigued about it. And the reason why I'm pursuing it now is actually not for the reasons people would think. People would think it's like, oh, you want to sell houses, right? You want to make money. Yeah, I guess that's one side of the coin. But my route to money is actually I want to be a lawyer. I have a bank job, so I'm pretty much set in that, making good money. But I saw real estate because I said, why not educate myself? I know a common phrase or thing people say is knowledge is power, and that, like, put into practice, that is so true. Like, that statement alone, you can really dominate your own life. And when I mean your own life, I mean the decisions that you make, because essentially people can influence you, but you can influence them. Now, how real estate came to be was, I know that in one point in my life I'm going to buy a house. So I said, why not get my license to prepare myself when I do, and make sure I know every fine line. Kind of like the lawyer in me, right? I want to read the fine print. I want to know everything. Like, I don't want to sign my name without a disclosure. And it turns out that now I'm developing into a business person. I'm thinking of, shoot, maybe I should buy real estate just to rent out, like, the home and get money income now. And that's a whole other conversation. But that's actually my goal, though. That's actually my current goal. And my advice to myself, what I tell myself is, keep my 9 to 5, and as a side hustle, or another term would be like, a side income, was real estate. Because if I sell one house in a year, realistically, I'll be making 12K, and that's just one home. In 12 months, realistically, like, the benefit, right, and so forth. So I thought about that, and I was like, okay. And again, it's the self-education. It was the stimulation of, I'm used to learning. I'm used to school, and I'm out of school, and I miss it. No, I don't. I know. School was great, but it's good where it's at. And then, but I want to keep learning. Jumps to podcasts and Peterson, and now I jump to, okay, my life. What is my life looking at now, and what's the next step? Well, knowing that I want more responsibility, house is a big responsibility. Also too, like, I know a lot of people like us our age don't think about retiring anytime soon, but that's one thing that I thought to myself. I was like, okay, again, learning from a lot of people, and especially people who do. I notice real estate is the common thing that they go to, because everyone needs a house, everyone needs a place to live. So you don't have to sell anything. You're renting out a place that for sure is gonna be a business. So that's actually what got me into real estate, the business aspect of it.
Yeah, that's really cool, man. Like, because, like, well, there's a couple points there. I at a point in time, I was also looking a lot into, like, like, finances, and also, like, kind of like how mentioned, like, real estate is a very, like, talked about thing in how you kind of, like, invest,
right,
and make, like, passive income, right, like that renting thing.
Right.
So yeah, that's really cool. I've heard many stories about that, of, like, people, yeah, like, like the entrepreneurship of, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
building that business a little bit, like you were talking about, like,
Yeah.
but buying these homes, renting them out, and, like, receiving that passive income.
And it's funny because it looks a lot different. I think one of the things that I was bombarded with when I was learning or trying to self-educate myself was people who were trying to get everyone rich fast. Oh, buy this 5-step thing into real estate, zero money down or whatever. And honestly, I'm happy that I never clicked that button. I never sought that rabbit hole. You know what I mean? And I call it rabbit hole because I bet you've gone through now. I know in our years or our age, the common thing right now is people selling, like, life insurance, right? They're trying to get you to sell life insurance and so forth. And for me, it's like, look, that's great if that's what you want to do in your life, but I don't see a purpose for that in mine. And for real estate, again, everyone's trying to say, hey, do this, do that, or trying to be an entrepreneur. I go like this because I feel like everyone's trying to be an influencer. What do they call it? The clout now, right? Everyone's trying to the clout. And one thing that I've learned about my favorite bands is it's not about that. It's not about the clout. It's good if you release a good song and it goes viral for a little bit, But in regards to life itself, it's really nice when you have peace and you have that like monopoly, like I was saying earlier, of like, okay, I know that when I go around go, meaning at this year of my life, when I'm 20, whatever, uh, that's when I'm gonna, collect on that. And that's exactly what you're doing. Whether if you're self-educating yourself, you're gonna collect on, the things that you've taught yourself. If you're working hard and like on your physique in the gym, you're gonna collect on feeling good, feeling healthy. And wherever you decide to monopolize in your life is really important on everyone, because you're actually like something that I learned. I always thought I wasn't going to influence anyone, but looking at my brothers and my sister and my family, I realized like getting my bachelor's degree was more than just me. Even now, pursuing my real estate license, like it's more than just me, because I have people like my girlfriend's mom and dad asking me questions and so forth. So I'm actually learning as I go, but I'm also teaching. And it's a beautiful power when you get to tell someone like, oh, did you know like you can also do it this way or different methods? Because then they're not stuck in they call it, I guess, the rat wheel, right? When you're always working, you just, or the hamster, right, is always running. You're not stuck there, and then until you retire at 65. Instead, with the passive income story, it's like you get it so well that it's passive. Once the passive overtakes your 9 to 5, then you can kind of tell yourself, okay, I don't have to do that, or I can focus full on that. And that's really nice because, again, I feel like we're stuck to 9 to 5, nuclear home, right? To a boy and a girl, a dog, and then a cat, and so forth. But life is, and I bet you've experienced life, like you said, life is different for everyone. It looks different for everyone. Some people are married at 35, 40. Some people are married at 19, and it's good for them. Some people are millionaires at TikTok. That's just the truth. But some of us are not billionaires until like they're older. Look at Elon Musk. That's another great mentor who I follow and listen to, or the gentleman who owns Amazon. Jeff Bezos, Steve Jobs. These are people who, in their interviews, I guess to summarize my point is, they ask them like, "Oh, like, were you happy when the money was coming in?" And they say one simple thing. This is the main idea from all of them. It was never about the money. It was always about growth, and that's the same for me. It's never about the money. When I have it, I'm not gonna stop once I have $1 million. $1 million. I'm gonna stop when I'm stop growing, and realistically, we never stop growing. So whether I get a million or whether I get 5,000, I think, like you said, it was uh, again with the singing. You know how I was like, oh, there's people who are really talented and gifted. It's the same idea for money than it is for singing. I'm definitely in a new, in a new ocean. I have to compete with sharks, but that's okay because wherever I land, I'm happy because I'm swimming. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, whew, I mean, there's so many things to like kind of like comment on that. Like, you know, man, what do I? So there's so many good points. The one thing is like becoming, like you said, like kind of similar to like how you wanted to be like a lawyer. That phrase you were talking about, like how it's good to like know a lawyer. Like you took
Yeah.
that the step further. Like you want to be that lawyer because you want to have that knowledge, that awareness in that field, so that when stuff comes your way, like you're prepared. You're better equipped to handle it. And you said there's the added benefit that not only do you have that for yourself, but to your family and to your friends. Like, you know, they also like can benefit. So that's great. And then with the real estate stuff, like you said, I want a home like someday, and like you're like okay, like and I want to be better informed when that time comes. So
Right.
I'm
Right.
gonna. This is like the best way for me to like be able to do this my way.
Yeah.
It's just like there's a pattern here of like you say I want this, and like you're gonna and you want to be and you go get informed on that matter, and I think that that's just that makes you powerful. That makes
Mm.
you in its own way, like it makes you a very powerful person because like you keep your eyes open, and you can make decisions like with the information that you're given and build a life that you know build a good life that's according to your values and what you believe in. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And
no.
again, I learned a lot, and I think it's the guy from Shark Tank. He says, like, I think his name's Kevin too, and he says like, oh, look at business or life like a game. Like you can get better at a game. Like I never played. Let's see, Final Fantasy. I never really touched that game. But if I put in like 100 hours, you bet I'm gonna get really good at Final Fantasy. You know what I mean? Like or Minecraft, or the game is. So I guess for anyone, like whatever you put your mind to it, if you put in that work, um, you will definitely reap the benefits. Actually, that brings me to another idea because besides having those mentors, I've had other indirect mentors who have helped me because of their work ethic. And it's funny because I don't know if you know Cristiano Ronaldo, the soccer player,
Right.
uh, number seven. Like if you see him, his background, he's coming from Portugal, and typically he's like compared to Messi, but their backgrounds are extremely different. Cristiano Ronaldo, I respect him a lot because of his work ethic. If you don't know Cristiano Ronaldo, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, a story for Michael Jordan was that he was too short to be lead or point, right? And look at him, ended up being the best one. So it's all in work ethic. And that's, I think, a sacrifice that you have to kind of call or make the decision because uh, time and energy. But my mentality is sacrifice it now and then reap the benefits later. So I hope it works.
Yeah, man. I mean, yeah, like you said, like I, that's like a another thing that Jordan Peterson kind of like really kind of like one of the things he highlights is that the idea of sacrifice.
Right.
That like the way that we like progressed as like a society is built on like people sacrifices and to be able to withhold like you know the immediate like um
Gratification.
gratification
Yeah.
for that long term idea of progress and growth. Yeah, it's important, and I think that it's still yeah, I think it's a journey that everyone kind of travels, kind of figure out like what they first like what they want to sacrifice for, and also like what what they need to do on the daily to accomplish those goals.
Exactly. And I think the great place to start would be by defining your own success. And I think that's really important. Whether it's again with the monopoly, whether it's money or your physique or whatever it is, like how you define success is very important to you. Because for some people, success is working at McDonald's, man, and getting home, and playing video games with their friends. Like they're happy. And to be honest, like I learned to respect that because I was like, you know what? If that makes you happy and that brings fulfillment to your life, then that's all you need. And I've learned to understand that not everyone has to be a millionaire. Not everyone has to be working like more than 40 hours a week to be happy. Some people are satisfied. Some people love their job so much they don't mind putting 80 to 100 hours a week. Typically uh, owners of a business or lawyers themselves, right? And but they're satisfied with that because it brings them fulfillment. For them, that is the highest form of success. So by defining success wherever it is at your life, um, that's definitely gonna, I guess, be the compass, right? I think I'm thinking of like Jack Sparrow now. It'll be your compass to where you're gonna go in life, and it'll make it so much better. You'll be so much fulfilled. Like me saying like I want to be a lawyer doesn't mean I have to be a lawyer right now. I learned to like. At first, I always thought like, oh, I'm falling behind. I am now like I'm gonna turn 25 next month, so I was like, oh no, I'm falling behind. I'm such an old lawyer. But then I started to think, I was like, no, I'm the captain of my ship, like, and it looks different. I'm docking at a different place. I'm leaving aboard on a different mission, on a different, I guess, passage in life. And I've been enjoying it so much. Of course, you hit the storms like anyone, right? Of course, there's sacrifices like you were talking about. There's a lot of miscommunication that comes with it. What happens is something that I've had to realize is some of my friends, unfortunately, like I had to cut off because it's the mindset. It's the mindset. If you're putting in a lot of time with a certain group of people that are not necessarily working towards the goals that you have, some like are not similar with yours, then you can really do yourself some damage because you get comfortable there and you think, oh, waiting another 2 to 5 years is okay. And in reality, maybe it's okay for them because they're happy and satisfied. But for you, you have a different mission and so forth. So yeah, man, success.
I mean, like, wow. Again, it's just like I love that perspective on like how you like view other people. Like one of the pitfalls with like I would say in life with people that are like um that are goal driven and people that like see like a higher version of themselves. Sometimes like they fall into the pitfall of like taking that mind that those expectations of themselves and placing it onto like other people, and
Right.
there could be like a couple issues that like arise from that. It's that first, like those expectations like come from your life and like your experiences, and what
Exactly.
you want, but versus like other people, like they have their own life and they have their own like perspective, and so I think it's unfair to judge them based on your own like expectations for yourself. So I think that's great that you have that view on other people, because it makes you you know it makes you kind of just more just empathetic and more like you know accepting of other people's and their circumstances. So I think that's cool. Um, and then what's the other thing? Like,
We're talking about like real estate. We were talking about life. Jordan Peterson. I'm just trying to remind you.
yeah,
Question. Yeah.
there
And
there were like at least 7 good points that like you said in between that I'm trying to like remember, because I mean there was just like a lot of good stuff that you were saying.
oh, no worries. I'm actually like I'm really happy that you to be here on your podcast because for so long I have these little rants, and honestly, I can go on for hours. Like my siblings know, and I have gone on for hours on them about like my little philosophical like how I look at the world. But now that you invited me on your podcast, I was like, look, I can talk as much as I want, and it's okay. So thanks again for having me, man. Yeah.
100%, man. Like I love like, well, first like I love like hearing it, and then also like it's so welcome like here, like welcome like those ideas, because like sometimes I also like throughout my day I also want like I kind of like also wanted that a little bit, like having a person to kind of like listen and like hear their feedback to kind of like these ideas like that I gained from like Jordan Peterson or other sources. And my whole thing has just been like um I've always wanted to kind of just like I don't just take it like word for word per se like what he's saying, but I also like I always want to like think about it, and I also want to like what do I think, and like how does it compare to what he thinks, and like if he's saying something that he thinks is important, like I try to test it on my own brain, like okay, and see from there, form my own conclusion on the matter, but also like to get other people's perspective on it, because it's like it's just a I guess more well-rounded opinion, a more like you get to test the theories and ideas that he presents that you also have, and it's just a good discussion, like you said, for food for brain kind of stuff like that. So
Yeah.
that's really good, man.
No, 100%. It's amazing how someone who is so far yet can have such a big influence, and that's I honestly that's why I kind of appreciate the rhetoric in what she does because he's not a great looking man. He's not a millionaire, So in a way, you should ask yourself like, why listen to Jordan Peterson? Why not listen to anyone else? Realistically speaking, right? And it's the content that he's releasing. It's not his amazing deep voice, like it's nothing fancy. It's what he says carries meaning, and in the same way, I think that's life, like how we dress. We're talking about first impressions, how first impressions have meaning. Everything has meaning. I would say don't look into everything with a magnifying glass, right? But yeah, definitely give yourself some credit wherever you are in life and say, look, this is where I'm at now. Tomorrow I'm gonna be 1 or 2 steps ahead, and that should be great. Yeah.
Yeah, man. The
Did
other
you? Oh, did you happen to read his book by any chance?
The 12 Rules for Life.
Yeah.
I've been trying to finish. I've bought the audiobook. Like I bought it in the
Okay.
audiobook format, and I've been trying to get through it, like through my runs and but it's been slow. It's been slow. I haven't finished it. I'm like on rule like like 6 or 7 or something.
Oh, so you're like halfway. It hits different. I don't know if it like when you hear it. Like for me, it hits different from like hearing him speak to reading it myself.
Oh,
Yeah.
did you get to hear both versions, or how did you?
I read the book. I never did the audiobook for that
Oh,
one. But when I listened to like just him speaking in general, like his like a podcast or whatever, um, for me like it hits different. Like the information. Um, I
in
feel
like
like
a good way or in like a?
I feel like I would side more on he's more persuasive in his talk than he is in the book. Because reading the book, I would read it and as the English major, not that that makes any difference, but I would look at it and be like, okay, he could have used a better example, or like this isn't a really good like Clifford and stuff like that. But that's just me criticizing, right? Like like anyone, we have the best things and the worst things that we point out. We're human like that. But overall, no, the book's really great. He's actually coming out with his second book. I guess
I
here's a
I
free.
I
Yeah.
hear about it. Yeah, because he releases a little bit on his Instagram on the new chapters and stuff like that.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. Definitely reading that. But yeah, I mean that I love it. You know, I think that's a cool thing. You know that part about criticizing. You know, because it's just like it makes because you went to get your bachelor's in English and you're so surrounded by writing. I think it's great. To be able to like comment on work like any kind of work like that and like kind of like add your voice because it's just like that's valuable. A little bit. Be like because it's just like like not only does it like in a world like it potentially would help like Jordan Peterson like you know in his book quality like to have like an opinion out like that, but also like in your own it just trains your mind. Like your own mind of like whenever you read anything it's just like hey like why did he use this and like like maybe
Yeah.
this could be potential. And so that the cool thing that you have now is that you can see potential. You can
Yeah.
see potential in writing where it's just like this could be better. And for me like that where writing doesn't come naturally and I didn't take like English as a major, like I don't I don't have that kind of vision. Like I always like say like one of the cool things I like to ask people is like what do you see? Because like if you give the
Mhm.
same piece of like whatever to like same kind of book and you tell like a therapist to read it or like
Right.
a doctor or a nurse, like every single one of them is going to see something different in that um, article or book that you gave them. And it's because of their profession. It's because of like what they are able to see from their training and what they're able to notice. So
Yeah. No, well
it's
said.
cool.
Well said. It's that, and then you got like, it's hard not to say that everyone has their own personal bias because of their experiences, right? So that's influence on how they see the world and how their opinion comes out. Because everyone's opinion is valuable, but like Jordan Peterson says again, to quote him 10 times, right? Like some opinions are just worth because of what they're targeting, what they're focusing on. You know what I mean? Like we right now we can be talking about like Alice in Wonderland, but it's in regard to the idea or what we're talking about. Because some ideas have big influences. I'm a big fan. Honestly, if I would have changed my major, I would have gotten a degree in like U.S. history because I love the concept of like a free nation and stuff like that. And how it actually came to be. It was just a bunch of old people in a room. Like that's what it was. Like that's just the fact. It was just a bunch of people dressed up, and then there were like lawyers and doctors and businessmen, and they're like, "Hey, I think we should like stand up for each other. Do we have an army? No. Okay, well, what do we have? We got a few colonies. Let's figure this out, and look at us now, USA, right? So
Yeah, I mean that's really interesting. Um,
yeah. An opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the one important thought about like, the revolution and is always like well, one is like definitely like representation of like and how like it's important to like be able to have an opinion
Right.
on something.
Right.
I think that was like one just super important thing. And like you said, like freedom to be able to voice those things and uh, is important in like a free society kind of thing. So yeah.
Yeah.
Um. Yeah, man. Like the one of the points was like you were talking about friends earlier, and
Right.
like you know there is that saying too, like you be like where it's like you become like the like kind of combination of like the top five people that you hang out the most. Because their influence is just so 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 big on like everybody. Like the type of people that you hang out with. Like you said, like we're just learners. We're like sponges, and whether it's consciously or unconsciously, like we pick up on like certain like habits and I yeah, just habits of these people that we hang out with. So yeah, like you said, like it's important to kind of like take control of your life a little bit. Like you do have that choice on like who you
Right.
get to hang out with.
And you do, and it's amazing how people can kind of choose to hang out with the same people as always, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like by all means, if you have a childhood friend, I'm not saying oh walk away from them. No, but I did learn this rule. Me and my rules, right? Kevin's 12 rules for kidding. Copyright restriction. I'll be banned by like every book. Yeah, publisher. But there was this idea that I learned, and it's called the 30% rule, or the 3 by 3 rule, and it's you hang out with 30%, or you surround yourself with 30% who are below you, people who need your help, whether it's like just help in life or just in general, people who are less educated than you, wherever you're at, people like let's say you're a doctor, people who are like so forth, and then the next 30% you hang out with people who are with you at your level, so you feel understood, you understand what you're doing is correct, and you're moving forward all towards the same direction. Again, whether it's career, physique, spiritual, right, occupational, wherever your thing is, you're moving towards the same direction. And then the last 30% is you hang out with people who are above you, and that's the people who are going to make you feel bad. Those are the people who are already made it in life, who are where you want to be. And it's not that they're going to make you feel bad because they make it look so easy. It's that once you ask them and you learn from them, you're going to understand how life works just a little bit more in depth, because you're going to be like, wow, it's not just textbook, it's not just me going out there and just 1 2 3 bang. So but those three groups I always recommend people like find those three groups wherever they're at. For me, how it looks like is the 30%, it's actually kids. So they're actually not 18-year-olds who I hang out with. I love hanging out with kids because I can teach them the ABCs. I can teach them how to drive. And they're so whoa, like they're just like, oh my gosh, dude, it's a new world for them. So that's my 30% who I go to. My middle 30% who I would say I would match. Honestly, I would say who my girlfriend now. She doesn't want to be a lawyer as well, but our work ethic, and that's where it gets kind of tricky, because you can surround yourself with people who want to be what you want to do occupationally, or you can just do people who do life the way you do. You know, because what happens is, of course, you always find those over competitive friends, right? And but some people, they just meet you halfway, and they're just like, cool, I'll put an effort in your relationship, and you're feeding off of each other. A good example is I ended up being really close friends to two business majors. I'll throw out the names, Kai and Hannah, and they've helped me out so much. These are people who I don't talk to every day, I don't hang out with every day, but when I do come in contact to them, I have questions and I'm trying to learn from them because they're at my level. They haven't, they're not billionaires, but they're like, okay, we're continually working on ourselves. And then again, the high class, or the top 30%, the way it looks like for me it would be like spiritual leaders. So I love talking to people who are in, you can say in power. Like I love talking to pastors, co-pastors. I love talking to business owners because I ask them real questions. I'm like, hey, like realistically, like how much hours did you put in this, or how did it look like growing it from ground zero? And would you do it again? And how would it look different? Because you're literally getting years of experience in like 5 to 10 minutes. And that is gold right there. Like that, you can pocket, put it in here, and that's worth like 10 books. You know what I mean? So that's why it's important to reach those different levels of people and talk to everyone like that.
I mean, how many times do I have to say this? I mean, I love it. Yeah, I mean, like I think I've definitely like heard of that concept before, but like, hearing it here again after so many years, actually, like it just, I think it's just so useful. I think like, and like the effects on that it'll have on you. I mean, it's so hard to even like kind of like, even like really like capture it like here in words, because it's just like it touches on so many parts of like you as a person. This whole thing, 30 thing that you have going on here. Like, you know, yeah. I mean, it's, you said it so well. Like, when you're, that 30% that's kind of like below you. Where you're at in like possibly in like life. Like you get to share knowledge. Like you get to
Right.
be, in some ways like a mentor to somebody that
Exactly.
that's coming, before you,
Mm.
or after you. Yeah, so the coming after you. So it gives you a sense of like a little bit
It's like a pat on
full
the back.
pat on the
Yeah.
back, a little bit of full circle. Like kind of like you get to see like all aspects of life a little bit there. Like little kid, you're passing on something to them. In that middle ground, like you're learning, it's your personal growth. Like these
Right.
peers, they can like relate to you. You can go to them for like these support during times of doubt, or
Hmm.
because they're experiencing it, they're with you, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
that upper level, like the experience that you're able to learn from these people, like that, like you said, I mean, like that, it's as good as gold.
Yeah.
Like that, you're able to like ask them these questions that they've gone through it, and they're on the other side of it. Like how
Right.
can you can aspire to potentially be them, so, or even better. And um yeah, I love it. Like I need to work on this. Like I don't have like, honestly, like I'm lacking in all three of these sections. Like I don't see, like I said, like I think I would personally gain, like I learned a lot here. Like
Yeah.
I'm
Hey,
learning.
that's awesome. That's awesome, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna work on this, like right after this. Try to figure out these groups, and like
Yeah.
really
How
kind
it
of
looks like.
yeah, and how it looks like. Yeah.
And then you were saying, yeah, back to the friends. What I was saying, like, in regards to cutting off, maybe they come off a little harsh, but that's just that's just the truth. There's not really a nicer way to put it. You're straying away. You're saying I don't have necessarily that much time for certain groups of people, and it's funny because sometimes they don't even have to be a bad influence. These can be your coworkers. They don't have a bad influence on you. They're just there to do their job. You know, but I'm saying, like, if you're putting in extra effort to really mend a relationship, just make sure the compass, you have an idea of where you want it to go. Okay, do I want this to be a life friend? Or, how much do I want to invest in with my time, with my finances, and so forth, with my emotions? Because that's a big one. I always, when I pray, I always say, like, physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional. And I make sure I check all of those in my life, and I'm like, okay, where am I at? Because if there's one that's lacking of those, then it's going to affect the other ones. For example, I can be right spiritually, emotionally, and it's physical, mental, spiritual, emotional. So I can be good on the other ones, but if I'm not eating physically, I'm going to feel tired. And then if I feel tired, my mind, my mental thing, I'm going to get agitated. So one affects the other. They don't all have to be at 100%, but they all have to be maintained. And funny enough, I actually wanted to this is gonna come out. I actually wanted to write a book in the future in regards to like maintenance and how that looks like. Um, because honestly, to get where you want to be at your ideal self, wherever that is, um, or to be successful, you have to start with the basics. You know how we are saying one fit in the routine? Well, that's all maintenance work. And that doesn't necessarily change in life. It just keeps adding on. One day it's us, the next day it's our kids and our spouse or our pets, if people have pets, or our home. You're just building on more responsibility. So, in a way, if you don't have the foundation of maintaining what you already have now and trying to figure out the easiest ways possible, you're going to get to a point where it becomes too much. And then that's where you get unhappy because not because you don't have what you want. Oh no, you can have a Ferrari and a mansion, but if you're always scared about people stealing your money, you're never going to have a good night's rest. And that's what people think. Like people typically just see, the Beamer, the Lamborghini, like, oh, I want that lifestyle. And it's like, whoa, I would think twice about that. I would think twice about that. Yeah. And like I said, yeah, those four things, man, they really help me out.
Yeah, man. I mean, yeah, that's good. There was one thing I wanted to add on to a previous point,
Mm-hmm.
about like the perspective and like other people that has just been on my mind. Like I just can't let it go because
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's that when you were talking about like when we were talking about like okay, like people have to define like what success like looks to them,
Right.
right? And I think that like I think that's such a cool point to make because it's like I think a lot of the time people don't ask themselves like what what they define as like success. A lot of the time I feel like a lot of the time people go through life kind of just kind of going through the motions and never like checking in on themselves, kind of like are they okay with like certain like where they're at or like where they're heading,
Right.
because sometimes they just it's not really like you said, like like outside of like stuff, like outside of like special circumstances like this, like where we're talking about like certain stuff like this, like we don't talk about enough about like what we want from life.
Right. Right.
Like we kind of just like we sometimes we just let life happen to us, and then like one day we wake up and it's just like, wow, I'm like this old and like I'm not happy, and like we're like what happened, only after the
Yeah.
fact of like all that time passed by, just just life happening.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and so it's cool that you advise people to like ask themselves these questions for themselves, because it'll help them tremendously in their journey, that they outline what they want, and so they can align their life to get what they want.
100%. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, man. um so yeah, um I just had to get that one out.
No, do it, man. I appreciate the elaboration, right? Like going more so much in depth because you're right. Success looks so different, and it's funny because if I asked Gabriel at like 15 years old, "Hey, what do you want in life?" You would have told me something completely different from now, and that's a decade ago. And it's crazy because as you get older, it can change in months. There's a song that I like. It's called 24 Hours by Switchfoot. And the idea is that anything can change. Your whole mindset or perspective in life can change within 24 hours, whether something really happy happens or something very tragic, right? So you have like the in dramatization, it's like you end with the marriage or you end with death, but it's like something great or something really sad and tragic. So yeah, the concept of where you find success is going to be changing rapidly, and I think everyone has to understand that. Like, hey, tomorrow, me doing 20 push-ups is a success, but the day after that, it's going to be me doing 50 push-ups. You know what I mean? And then when I have kids, it's not going to be about push-ups. I can care less about push-ups. It's going to be oh, I want to make sure I can take them to their games or support them this. You see how like success shifted and so forth. And it's the same concept for economical, again, spiritual or emotional, or in every kind of aspect of life, occupational, right? And I've definitely been hit with a lot of no's in my life. Even now, there's been so many doors that have been closed in my life. And I always tell my girlfriend, I was like, no one would know. People would just look at me in my nice car and then be like, he's got it going. Like, look at him go. And I'd be like, oh, if only they knew. If they were in my shoes, they would understand that it took 10 no's to get one yes. You know, and it sucks because every no, you really have your heart on your sleeves. You're really trying to get that job, to get that interview, to start that new relationship, to start that new routine. Oh, you know, as soon as I start reading books or working out or develop that old relationship, oh, I just need to hit up this old friend because, you know, they were really good for me and so forth. Or I need to do something new with my life, you know, like so forth. Like wherever it is, it's crazy where it's gonna get you, man.
Yeah, man. Like, you know, you mentioned like how your perspective on life can change so fast, you know, within the matter of like 24 hours. And I think it, you know, I think it's because of kind of similar to what we were talking about earlier about you know, where you have to force or not force yourself, but you have to really, you know, take time out of your day, take time out of your schedule to do self-reflection on
Right,
like like how your life is and like what your values are in life. Um, because like you said, a lot the reason why you can change so fast, I feel like, is because those events that are tragic, sometimes like maybe the death of like maybe a close relative or like maybe a
mm-hmm.
close loved one, like it forces reflection, right?
Right,
Where it's just like previously, like we were talking before, it's just like sometimes we just let life happen,
right,
and
yeah,
you know, that's all nice and dandy until life does what it does and it just changes, and then all of a
yeah,
sudden here we are with a completely, you know, where our routine is just is broken, and now we're just scrambling to like try to get the ground back on our feet, and you know, and that's where, you know, that forced reflection takes place, and sometimes people can't handle that, you know, like
right,
that's where you know, like, you know, that's where you get people just like like really just unable to like just be
yeah,
productive, be able to just go through life because of like they're just, you know, being forced in position to reflect on their life, what life means to them, like, and kind of like, you know, like getting
yeah.
used to the idea of like death in the case of like if death does occur. Um,
Right.
yeah. So.
And to on that note, I recently heard this example, and honestly, it did stick with me. It says you're supposed to like read a sentence, and then it asks you a question. It's um, like I think I remember. It says, oh, the meeting for tomorrow was pushed 2 hours later, and then the question is, was the meeting in the morning or the afternoon? And what would you respond?
Wow. Interesting.
So obviously they don't give you a time. All they're telling you is, hey, tomorrow the meeting is moved 2 hours later. Is the meeting in the morning or in the afternoon? Yeah.
Well, I am very stumped.
What would you think?
I mean, I would think afternoon.
Right. So naturally the meeting was in the morning and it was pushed to the afternoon, right?
Okay.
Yeah, that's how you're taking it. That's
Mm-hmm.
how I took it as well. I took it as, oh, if the meeting's pushed, then it was supposed to be in the morning and it's in the afternoon. For some people, they answer. It's actually, I'm sorry, it wasn't even like morning or evening. For some people, it's actually just a blank statement. So they'll say, oh, the meeting was pushed towards a certain time, and they'll give you like 4 or 6 p.m., which means their day starts at 2 p.m. or 12 p.m. The point of the example is to show that some people are like, I guess I can use this, right? Some people are here and then life is passing them by. But for some people, life is at a standstill and they're moving towards life, if that makes sense. So they're moving through life, but for some people, they're standstill. They're not going anywhere. and next thing you know they're 30, next thing you know they're 40, and they're like, whoa, what, why am I barely reflecting, and so forth, and vice versa. If you're moving through life, it looks a lot different. um, it's crazy. I always tell my loved ones, I was like, if I were to go today, I would say I'm the happiest man alive, and that's as sincere as I get. Not because I have everything I've ever wanted, or not because I'm a lawyer, because I'm not. But honestly, I feel like up until now, I've given it my best, and it's amazing. Life is amazing, and I think I've made all the right decisions so far. And but I'm still excited just because of that. It's not like I'm gonna pause life. I'm definitely looking forward to the future. I have so many plans. I always said I probably need 2 lifetimes to do whatever I want to do. Like I just want to accomplish so much. I want to accomplish so much. Like the other one said, it's a never ending in regards to building or growing. Yeah.
That's the other point that I missed to make earlier because you were making so many good points that it was hard for me to choose. You mentioned like, you know, you were mentioning like, okay, like we never really stop growing,
Right.
and I think that is truly, you know, I think that's truly the goal. Some people, you know, do their 9 to 5 and like just wait till retirement and be like, okay, that's my life,
That's
and
it.
that's, you know, uh, but I think that there's like missed potential there, because it's just like, you know, you have so many good years, right? Of like 50, 60 plus years, like, especially like maybe we're, maybe 50 good years ahead of us. And,
Right.
I think that every day, it should be that you're chasing, after something that makes it like worth it.
Hmm.
Like you shouldn't be like, it's partially what we were talking about earlier. Like it shouldn't be just full on routine. Like there should be
Right.
something to explore. There should be something uh to build on, and that every day should the goal should always be like, to take care of that, to grow that from the little seed that it always begins at, and to make it into something eventually like beautiful and like valuable innately. And yeah, man. And so I don't think that stops at like 60, like I think that it keeps going, like, like until like you said, like until we can't do it anymore, like and I think that should be, you know more popular perspective in life, not just waiting for a time where it's like, okay, I'm done, like I'm done. uh,
Yeah.
I think there should be more.
No, I would agree 100%. I'm actually getting more excited as I'm like, I feel like I'm talking to like another version of me. Like, I'm like, hey, bro. I was like, you must be Kevin from like what is in the Marvel universe is like different worlds or yeah, like in
Right.
another universe you're like another Kevin, like Kevin from Earth 23 or something. And I couldn't help but think, and I've never had this thought before. I at least remembered this thought back in middle school, we met. What was it? Remember that question they asked us? They were like, "Okay, you're a colony in England. Do you want to go to America and risk dying, or do you want to stay where you're at and just live there for the rest of your life, or do you want to travel to new lands and so forth?" And I remember the teacher said one class said the majority of the class wanted to stay where they're at because they were happy with their 9 to 5s, and the other class wanted to travel to America, even though they had the risk of dying overseas or so forth, because they thought the risk was worth it. And that just highlights I wouldn't say personalities, but that highlights the kind of people that are in this world. Some people want the most. They will set sail and just any opportunity they get, they will grasp it, whether if it leads to anything and what I mean by anything, it's what you make of it. Like I would love to like see you looking at these podcasts 5 to 10 years from now and be like, I'm so proud of that. Not because it got a million views, but because you're like, I did that. I created that. And that's the amazing part, because I'm already like really proud of you, man. Which is like honestly, like, hats off, dude.
Oh.
Like, and I talk about myself like a lot. I gas myself up, but hats off to you for doing something, and like setting sail to the Americas like that. But in regards to what we were saying of how people should, it would be nice if that was the norm, right? If people could see their potential and take full advantage. But I understand that people's experiences definitely get people scared, and the fear is definitely there, especially right now, where we're seeing in the next 5 to 10 years is the rise of mental illness awareness. 10 years ago, it wasn't such a dominant or popular thing, right? It was drugs and so forth. Now, mental illness seems to be the number one thing talked about on social media and so forth. There's a lot of pages; they're very popular. Everyone's looking for a therapist now. Now it's becoming a norm. Maybe the stigma back in the day wasn't like, oh, get a therapist, but now it is. Now it's like, if you need help, get help, and then and go from there. So I'm excited to see where that leads us. But I'm also for people who have the 9 to 5s, and for people, because realistically, I hope when I go to McDonald's, there's someone who's happy there making me a sandwich. I wouldn't want to get a sandwich from someone who's mad, because that would make my day bad. That would just ruin my day. And they're just there because they have to support a family or they have to do something. And they're just saying, hey, you know what? I might not get a lot from this life, but whether they believe in the afterlife or not, right? Or maybe that's their hope is at home. Maybe they're just, I'm telling you, maybe their garden is their little peace and so forth. So again, success looks different in many ways, and wherever it is, I've had to learn to put my pride down and say, you know what? Because at one point you were saying I was projecting myself onto everyone. Hey, you can be the best thing. You can be a business lawyer, real estate, anything you want to do. And then I stopped doing that because it took out so much of my energy. And then once I stopped doing that, I had so much energy for myself, and I had so much peace because then I wasn't worried about everyone else. And instead, my mom always tells me, help everyone, Kevin, anyone you see. And I told my mom, I used to want to do that when I wanted to be a nurse. Now I see life a little different. I'm a little hard on the edges. And now my concept is, if someone needs help, they'll come and ask for it, because I used to go out of my way to help people. Now it's not the same. Now I wait for people to approach me and say hey, I need help. Okay, with what specifically? Show me that you're putting an effort into try to better your life. Because honestly, Gabriel, that's how we reached out to Jordan Peterson. We didn't just find him on a limb and said oh, cool, you talk nice, man. No, it was you know what? There's something in life that I think I need to get better at, or I need to learn. And we kept listening, and we kept applying, and we started making our bed, with his, his example, right? And then life got better, and we're I like this. I love doing these new things, building my routine, taking care of my maintenance work, because I'm seeing a lot of benefits and so forth. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I'm making a list here because don't want to forget anything. I want to. Well, thank you for the comments about the podcast. Yeah, man. I mean, it's been a ride. Like you said, how people change in a year. I would have never imagined in a year ago that I would have made something like this. Calling people back from a decade ago.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was a very introverted kid. Very shy kid, all the way up to college. And and so to see this happening, and for me to find I think a passion in listening to other people's stories, and their their ideas and their either passions, that's just something that I find really cool. I find nothing more interesting than other people. So and so it's been a pleasure going through these now 6 episodes. It's just been a ton of fun for me, and I hope that it's been a fun for them too. So there's that. The next thing that I wrote down here was about how how you talked about people fear kind of there's a certain fear to growth. I think I think it's partially because of that fear to flop that we were talking about earlier. People
Right.
don't want to don't want to fail. They don't. There's a lot of things that's potentially holding them back. But going back to Jordan Peterson, he said
Yeah.
one of the things that you should also fear. He mentioned how fear is a very strong emotion. You know, it's very visceral. It's because it has been one of the, you know, it goes all the way back to when we were, you know, to our ancestors, about just fear so strong. But there's
Yeah.
something even more to be feared, and it's like the fear of the loss of the potential. You know,
Mm,
it's that fear that you weren't able to do everything that you could have been able to do. And I think
right.
that that is a strong motivator for people to potentially, once they kind of become aware of it a little bit, they can see, you know, they might be able to use that fear that's been holding them back, but turn it around and to use that fear to push them forward, be in the direction that they want. Because a lot of the times, if you don't do like what we said earlier, if you don't define what success looks like to you, and you don't become aware of that loss of potential, then that's the direction you're gonna head. That you're going to pretty much like stay the course, and typically if you're not aware of these things, like you're not going, the course that you're gonna head on to is not gonna match your values, and one day you're gonna see that, and you know you're gonna
Yeah.
be distraught by it in some way.
Yeah, and it's what does he say also, like it's only like a matter of time, because things, if without maintenance, things decay. You see, if you leave your car alone for a year, it's not going to be working the same than when you do it every day. And that's just the natural. Even the body decomposes, right? We're currently decomposing up until when we get old. So yeah, with the potential, if you're not using the energy or what you have now, at one point it's going to be too late, because it'll catch up to you. And it's really unfortunate, I always focus on like older folks, and I try to hear them and, try to make them realize their worth. I feel like that's a gift that, God's given me, where I feel like I can make anyone feel like worth something. I remember I was talking to a gentleman, like old folk, and he was really like, in the 70s, and he's not having the best day, and he's really, really sad. And I was like, you know what? It's not about the big things in life. Everyone thinks it's about, the house and the wedding day and the this and that. It's not what it's about. It's about the everyday. It's about if you're happy today and if you're going to be happy tomorrow. And if you're not happy, then figure out a way to fix it. It's in your hands, it's in your power. Or if you don't feel like you have that power, then get yourself out of that situation. The friend group, familial group, things like that. Yes, it's going to be a little difficult, but there is always a way out. With the fear that's there, I love how you pinpointed the fear of missing potential is a big one. Like I actually had forgotten about that. And like that's a big motivator for those who find a hard time feeling motivated. Like tell yourself, hey, would you rather say what if, or would you rather say, oh, I remember I tried that, it didn't work out, but I ended up fighting this instead. Because that's where I find myself at most of the time. One of the biggest failures that I had was I actually applied to be a CHP officer, a California Highway Patrol officer. And this was before my job now. I was at a bank at Wells Fargo then. And I actually haven't told anyone this except for my family. And I was distraught, because I was like, wow, I thought I was the perfect candidate, like clean background, you name it. Like I was crispy clean, and they didn't get me. And I had to talk with myself, and I had to reflect and thinking, why wasn't that for me? If I thought I was such a good candidate, why wasn't it for me? And it turns out, it wasn't meant for me in my lifetime. And now I've learned so much from that I had to take life a little bit more seriously in different areas and different aspects. But I took that blow because it took a lot of hours and a lot of money and a lot of energy to hear him no and be like, okay, time to restart. Let's refocus. Let's regroup. Let's pick myself up from the dust off, and let's keep moving forward. I recommend anyone who hasn't read The Alchemist. It's a great book about a journey, and that's what it looks like. It's saying a lot of no's, but when you get a yes, you're even more grateful.
Yeah, man, like that. Yeah, I mean, it's just like you said. I mean, I love that. You know, the of your you know, sharing that story about like how you had something that you really wanted, and like you know, like you said, like with a lot of things we need to like reflect, and in this case, like the thing that kind of forced you to reflect was like hearing that no, like asking
Right.
yourself like why wasn't I like picked, and like and you went through the motions of like
Yeah.
like why is it like your personal like reasons why, like your personal strengths and weaknesses, and like where it falls into that position.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I mean, yeah, I mean that's
It's interesting.
yeah, man. The other thing that you mentioned was about mental health. Interesting.
Yeah.
Enough, it's actually pretty funny because at the moment, you know, I'm actually like in the middle of like contemplating like potential like career paths.
Okay.
Um, and actually like being a therapist was actually one of the like potential things that I was like thinking about like because of like because of a lot of the things I've been saying today,
Mhm.
where you know I like listening to people,
Yeah.
and I also very I'm very like I just understanding of like where people are at, and just kind of meet them where they're at, kind of
Yeah.
thing, and it really connects to the next point that I had written down here, which is like how to give help, and to who to give help. You mentioned like how
Yeah.
your perspective changed from helping everybody to focusing on like the people that kind of like are able to reach you.
Right.
um and I think that you know that form of helping people is in a way like much more efficient, just because you have a certain skill set to be able to help people, and for the people that are able to find you with that need, um, with that specific specialty that you can help them in, it's a
Mhm.
good match. And
Right.
there's just more chance of your of you being able to help them, and them being able to apply what they learn to help themselves.
Yeah.
I think is is a good is a good thing, because what I've learned is that we can only do like so much,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
this world, like with our time and energy, like
Right.
and so directing your energy to high efficient forms of help like this is a good thing, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I going actually back to the topic of you contemplating like occupational therapy and so forth. That's great that you're seeing the skill sets that you already have that are built in you via your personality, and saying I can monetize that. Why not mix and match? I feel like sometimes people who are nurses, they're very empathetic. They're very people people persons and so forth. So that's a great way to monetize as well. But yeah, that's awesome that you get to see that. For me, it looks a lot different. Like I was saying, I'm the kind of gentleman who, unfortunately, like I wouldn't give a dollar out in the street. I just wouldn't. It's not my personality. It's not, and it's because realistically, I don't trust the person. But I would be the person who, if you call me and you're like, hey, this weekend we're gonna go feed, the homeless, I'll be like, sign me up. Oh, I'll pick you guys up and I'll choose the spot where to get food. I'll take initiative there because I know I'm having a direct impact rather than with the dollar or so forth. I feel like I don't know where that's going. So it's the a reassurance of I know when I'm helping you, it's making a real impact. Like you said, um, just right now, the efficiency, right? So it's the same concept of if I try to help everyone, I don't know how impactful I'm happening, like how much people I'm actually helping. But if it's one or two people who I'm mentoring from scratch or trying to better their lives, like then you can tell the impact is a lot more, and their life is it's a lot more. It's changing so much, and it's really great. It's really great to see that because there's a lot of ways to help people. Therapy is a great way, uh, and also like some people help financially, right, and then other people help with their time, with their energy and so forth. So I think helping people has a great ripple effect. It just takes you to not the person to go ahead and take the parking spot, or when you're driving, oh, go ahead and so forth, that you make their day and they ended up helping like so many more people just continues on. So it's really interesting on the idea though, on efficiency, on efficiency, on what exactly are you doing to help someone, and at what point should you stop helping someone, you know? So it's because there's both sides of a coin, and what happens is that people get so used to being helped, then you're taking the load off of them. If I asked everyone for $1 and everyone gave me $1, you think I would have to work? You know what I mean? Like, and 1,000 people, that's already $1,000. That's like, that's rent somewhere in LA, and then so forth. So that's just, food for thought.
Yeah, I think yeah, it's definitely like stuff that it's important to think about, like um because like you said, like people I think people there's some people that like just cannot, or
Mm-hmm.
just very giving, right? They're people that just really care, and really care about like humans, and like whether they're suffering, and they just really want to like get them out of that position that they're in, like as quickly as possible. And and like you said, that's generally like a good thing to have, like because like you said, like there's a long history with you know with humans. Like we still have a lot to like improve on, like in like general society. I mean, but like one of the pitfalls with being having a quick hand to like help is sometimes you don't you miss the unfortunate consequences of your caring actions, right? Like you were talking about, potentially that somebody, uh, you know, receiving help can become too dependent on that help and are unable to, um, and don't have, I guess, the maybe the mindset to be able to know that it, I don't want to be in this position for the rest of my life. That
Mm-hmm.
I want better. That I want, you know, that the aid is important to me to like get through the time that, you know, that they're having right now. But that, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And to jump in there again, the idea just came to me like you're enabling them. You're saying it's okay to keep asking for help because I'm going to keep helping you, which you're associating by like, hey, 'cause as long as you keep asking, I'm going to keep giving. This happened to like I was a supervisor at Coffee Bean. There's a gentleman who kept coming in every evening because he knew we threw the breads away, and he was so consistent. Every evening he would come, and then I told him, I'm like, hey, I'm sorry, but we have to stop giving it to you because you're becoming dependent on it. Once or twice was okay, but I assure you there is a liability there, because now I'm liable if anything happens to you, if like the food is, bad or anything. And it actually moves on to like how it looks in the world. I always say in regards to like if you really want to help someone, help yourself. you know like we're human, we're not perfect, so there's definitely something in ourselves that we can fix or we can get better at. Maybe it's our pride, maybe it's our work ethic, maybe we work too much, maybe we work too little, maybe it's how social we are, maybe we're not antisocial on purpose, right? Like if you want to help someone, help yourself, give yourself that time and energy, and then move on to other people. And I always say like your little circle, your friends, your family, people you have direct contact with. Because I kid you not, there's no greater satisfaction than seeing like a brother or sister, or friend or family member, like get happy because you're helping them achieve something. And it can be anything really, a workout goal or like, whatever they want to do in their lives and so forth. So it's satisfying.
yeah. I would agree on the satisfaction part. Like, yeah, seeing your loved ones succeed in life, like, I think that yeah, I think that's a hallmark of a person that is able to understand, that knows a little bit, a little bit more wiser in life, being able to just be genuinely like happy for another person's like success,
Right.
because and not always seeing like life as like out of like a 100%, that if someone else is succeeding, like someone else has to like suffer or like
Mhm.
lose. No, life doesn't have to always be like that. Um, yeah, and so yeah, it's just a sign of I think a well-rounded person to have a mindset like that.
100%. And to continue off and I guess it's a new idea, but I can't help but think like as I get older, I can't help but like thank my parents even more. I'm not sure if that's happened to you at one point yet, but I'm now like more grateful for them for like every little thing. When like my mom, I go to my mom's house and she offers me like a plate of food. And I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you. I was like, because that as a kid, you don't know the effort it took. She had to prep the food, she had to go to the grocery store, and she's doing all that to support, to, you know, to have a happy life. She could have easily bought in McDonald's every day, no doubt about that. But she decided, no, 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 I'm gonna put an effort to better my family, and it looks that way. Now for us, as in like, men, it looks a little different. It looks like whether it's taking out the trash or being educated. Like I said, like getting a degree definitely helps my family because, in a way, they felt kind of like, okay, I need to up my language. And if you were to talk to them, I kid you not, like 5 years ago, before the degree, the conversations that they were having around the table, like everything was a lot different, you know. So the influence it's so dramatic that when you help yourself, it's crazy even on those fails because they're actually learning from your failure as well, because that's your support team right there. Those are like your cheerleaders, you know what I mean? Like those are people, like that's your coach. Your parents are like putting your towel, you're boxing, and they're like, okay, they're not gassing you up saying you, hey, you're great at everything you do. They're telling you, hey, you need to fix your pride, you need to start working out, you're getting chubby, you need to they're telling you all these things because they're prepping you for life that's out there. And life ain't easy, man. Life is just gonna come and be like, hey, you didn't get the job, not because you're not qualified, it's because you don't look good. Like because your sense of style. And or you got picked over someone who did have a sense of style or whatever it is. And they're your team. It's important that you're giving back to your team. It's important that you're like listening to your coach and your family members and saying, okay, okay, I'm getting it, I'm learning, I'm getting all this information. I'm learning from Jordan Peterson and all these other people and mentors that I love, but I'm also learning from the basics. I'm, the old 1-2. I always say that the old, I'm gonna give you the old 1-2, 1-2, man, and that's enough. Like that's enough to knock people down. Like in a knockout, very rare, but you have seen a few jab knockouts where it's like he got you with the basic. Literally, all you have to do is keep your hands up, but you fail to do so, and that's how life works too. If you forget to do the basics, eat, take care of yourself, sleep, get some rest, and so forth. And there's a way to maneuver out, but there's also a way to keep building, and that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of it. I know we talked a lot about the negative aspect of it, but the beauty of life is you can keep building to no limit, which is amazing. And I'm talking about like your family, your kids. I'm talking about you can be blessing like your cousins and the conversations that you bring to the table. Maybe they're talking about a TikTok, and then you bring up a little idea or concept that helps one of them and you don't even know they're going through a hard time, right? And douche. And next thing you know, they end up being like a president, a lawyer, a nurse. And little did you know, your word or just by listening to them is what they needed at that time. So yeah, helping people, it goes a long way. I always say to my friends and family, I was like, as long as I live, like you're gonna be taken care of, and so are your kids, because the love transcends. You know what I mean? And I think I remember that now. That's why I told the gentleman, I was like, something that you keep passing on is not necessarily money and finances, but it's your love. Because how you love your children is how they're gonna love their children, and so forth and so forth. And it's the same respects. There's some things that, as much as we did talk about money and how you know important it is, there's some things that you can't teach. And right now we're having that conversation. Perspective, you definitely can't teach. You can give the idea, right? But to have actually someone grab it. Have you seen the movie Inception?
Yeah.
Okay, so they said nothing's more dangerous than an idea. That's the moral. And they're trying to plant the idea, and they end up planting the idea that for a business, because that's the plot. And it's the same concept. You can keep fishing and giving people ideas, but if they don't grasp it or take it for themselves, then you get a loss of potential.
Yeah, man. Definitely. I think that um, that goes to show, like you were mentioning earlier, like we didn't just happenstance that just fall on like Jordan Peterson.
Mm,
Like it's because like we saw something like lacking in our own lives, and so
right.
we went out and like searched for people that talk about those concepts that we struggle with, that that can potentially like clarify that little part that can clarify that those complex issues in life a little bit, so that we can like you know kind of like struggle at least in the right direction that we want to. So
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, man.
It's okay, big boy.
Oh man, what did I say, man? 2 hours has 2 hours and 11 minutes has passed since we started this podcast.
You're, you're kidding. No way. No way. Dang, okay.
I
Crazy.
honestly,
That's
I
crazy.
could we could I feel like we can keep going, like keep
You
going like
can.
forever,
Yeah.
because it's just
Yeah.
like there's so many, like I'm telling you, every time, every segment that you've had, there's at least 5 points that I've like wanted to just like, I just like want to like keep like expand on it,
Tackling.
follow
Yeah.
up on it. Like I'm like I have like so many notes like here. Like I'm trying to keep track of like everything, so that like I want to comment on it. But yeah, it's just like I think you're, yeah. I mean, like I don't know if anyone said like you're an amazing speaker. I think you're amazing at communicating your thoughts. Like it's just you know it's so easy to kind of like follow, and like you know you're also very like very yeah, a good listener as well, able to hear another person, and also kind of follow them in the discussion, and see where that takes you. It's really cool, man.
And vice versa. Thanks for the therapy session. Yeah.
No, I mean, yeah, I mean,
Why? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think that was like another potential reason for the podcast, because you know I don't think people have enough like these interactions where it's just like,
Outlet.
yeah, like it's just it's really like focused on you, and like what your thoughts are, and like like what you think about, and like having another person like chime in on that, first to listen to that, and to then chime in on that, to add perspective, and to add like another opinion, because like I said earlier, like having like a closed opinion with no other thoughts, like it's not a very well-rounded situation. Ideally, you'd like to test your thought to somebody else, so you can see if it's where it's at in terms of validity, and whether it's just sometimes, just like I said, our thoughts can be very deceiving sometimes. It's like
100%. 100%.
and so that's why you gotta kind of check it with other people, and
See if it
you know
works.
see how that be.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, 2 hours though. That's insane, man. That's yeah.
Yeah, I mean that we could have spent so much more time kind of reminiscing on back then. I mean, there was so many. I mean, I felt like I skipped over a bunch of stuff just because I had to get to this the portion of the Kevin that I've never heard about. But even that portion, I mean, that was as exactly as fascinating as I had thought it to be. Where you're at.
Thank
I mean,
you.
I hope we can do this again like
Ah,
sometime soon, because it's just like it seems like you have a lot of ideas out there. I have a lot of ideas out there, and we kind of share a little bit on that, like Jordan
yeah.
Peterson. I mean, it's a big topic, like Jordan Peterson. I know we mentioned him a lot, but I mean that
Yeah.
doesn't even scratch the surface, I think, on
Mhm.
on just his many ideas, and his impact on not only us two, but on thousands of other people out there. So I'm sure we can find something to talk about there. And also, I still have so much more on like, you know, like I'd like to ask you about like, more about the lawyer stuff, more about,
Yeah.
um, you know, we didn't even get to talk about COVID that much. Like, I know you mentioned like, how that's a little bit impacted you with your gym stuff, but I mean, we just scratched the surface today. I mean, yeah, I mean, I hope we can do this again sometime soon, man.
Hey man, I'm 100% up for it. I always like talking, especially the conversations that we have. I appreciate you listening out. I know sometimes with the ideas, with typically when you hear like an in-depth concept, people tap it to touch the water, and then it's uncomfortable and so forth in regards to we talked about like helping people and just how we see life. But I always try to like generalize it. But I appreciate all the compliments, man. Thank you so much, man. It's you really gassing me up. You are, man, and I humbly take it like it's been a work of, I would say a work of art in my life, and even now, like I wouldn't say I'm at 100%, but I am definitely happy and satisfied where I'm at, which is great, right? So 100% whenever you have my number or hit me up on the media, right? And then I'll be more than happy to come back and look over those other topics or go more in depth, with the ideas or concepts of Jordan Peterson and what he teaches us. Because you're right in regards to fear and courage and how that actually looks like in life. I'd be happy to talk about personal examples and hear from you too, man. Like to see how it looked like in our lives. And I'm glad that we talked about the correlation of the influence that we had when we were children and how it looks like now. Because having like you asking me questions about middle school to high school to college, I actually haven't reflected all of them ever at the same time. I'm kind of just like, wow, there is a correlation. It's me trying new things and then no and then yes and back and forth until here I am now. And again, I've heard a lot of no's, but I've heard a few yeses that have brought me where I am, and I'm more than happy. So thanks again for your time, man. Thank you for having me. Yeah.
No, man, the pleasure is all mine. I mean, I've learned so much from this one episode. I talked earlier about when you mentioned that 30%, like the 3x3x3.
Yeah.
I will definitely look into that. I'll definitely like see how I can apply that to my own life because, I mean, just like you, like it hasn't all been like roses for me. So
Right.
I'm
Right.
always trying to improve. I'm always trying to see like how I can be more efficient because like you said, like there's only so much time, so much energy, and
Right.
so we have to do our best with what we got.
Exactly. Exactly. Hey, and you're doing a great job, man. You are, man, with the podcast and everything. And you look young, dude. Honestly, you look like 21, bro. Are you my age or are you younger? You're 96, right?
uh, yeah, 96. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's the
yeah.
same age, man. Yeah.
I gotta make sure he's the same age as me because you look too young, bro.
No, I mean you look super young yourself, man. Like you still, I mean, you're still. I mean, no one. I mean, 20, 21. You're in that area too, man.
Thanks, dude. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So, all right, man. Thank you for today. I'll look forward to the next time we're able to do this, man. It was such a good pleasure. Um, and I'm sure that the people that were able to listen all the way to this point, I'm sure that they gained a lot of insights to all the stuff that we talked about, man. So, thank you again.
Thanks for having me, man.
All right, you guys, that'll be the end of the sixth episode of the Gilbert podcast. I had my good friend here, Kevin Cortez, on, and all his ideas and his experiences throughout his life so far. So I look forward to seeing him on the next time, and thank you for listening, you guys. Peace. Bye.